I'm going to talk about Ethereum. I'm going to give you a point of view that you may not be thinking about if you're focused mainly on the next, let's say, 12 months. This is October of 2024. As of the recording, it's actually October 31st. I want to say that because we're going to get into pricing later. I want you to know the date because you might be watching this at a later time. So as a crypto investor, I have a couple different strategies. I've got my short-term and my long-term. Short-term being, let's say, the next 12 months if there's a bull run, and then longer-term being years and years depending upon my age. And I should point out, I always have to say my disclaimers, I'm a big dumb animal, don't do what I do. Okay, so I have my short-term and my long-term strategy. I look at fundamentals and I look at value. So, in other words, I'm not looking at meme coins. Then also, my goals are investment purposes, DeBanking purposes, and I have videos on that which go into more detail, essentially using various crypto for collateral, holding the assets and borrowing stable coins or dollars. And then lastly, preserving wealth, right? That's what a lot of people talk about when they talk about holding things like Bitcoin in particular, to preserve wealth. So in a nutshell, I've got my long-term and my short-term crypto. I look at fundamentals and value, and I look to invest, debank, and preserve wealth. Okay, so we're going to talk about Ethereum because I happen to believe that Ethereum is still at an excellent price point. And a lot of you may not be thinking about it because it's such a high market cap. It's not something that people are projecting to 10x or 20x like other coins. However, I do think it's still a great price, and I like to diversify even in a bull market. The higher market cap, typically the less volatility, and therefore theoretically the less risk. All right, so let's talk about Ethereum. So here are 3 pros about Ethereum. I'm going to keep this pretty high level. First off, Ethereum really pioneered the concept of a blockchain, a smart contract platform. There was a time, and I still think of it this way, when people would say, well, Bitcoin is the world's gold, but Ethereum is the world's computer. So they had, when it comes to smart contracts, because they pioneered it, they really have first mover advantage. To me, that's a big deal. Ethereum's blockchain, number 2, is able to host other cryptocurrencies, as you're fully aware, because of the ERC20 compatibility standard. Let's call those tokens. I believe last I looked, it was close to 300,000. Maybe it was 280,000 tokens. Over 40 of them are in the top 100 crypto by market cap. Things like Chainlink, Tether, USDC, Wrap Bitcoin, Uniswap, you name it. And they are the second in market cap by far. If we look here on CoinMarketCap, you're probably very familiar. Bitcoin at the moment, 1.4 trillion. Ethereum, 300 billion. And the closest is, well, Tether, which is a stable coin, 120 billion. BNB, 84 billion. Really Solana, if you're looking at a competitor, at 80 billion. So they are by far the second in market cap. Okay, let's talk some cons. Well, most people talk about the fact that it has high gas fees. In other words, high transaction fees and low throughput, meaning the transactions aren't really that fast. So therefore, second con, everyone wants to be an Ethereum killer. Everyone wants to knock Ethereum off of that hill. I believe that's going to be extremely difficult to do. Now let's take a look at the founder. I'm going to say Vitalik Buterin. And you can see he has blog posts, but these are updates and upgrades to the Ethereum protocol. And he split them into 6 different ones. You can click and read about them. I love the way he names them: the merge, the surge, the scourge, the verge, the purge, and the splurge. To update Ethereum to basically answer and try to fix a lot of what they believe are issues. In other words, make it better and keep it up to date. And they do an excellent job in communicating it and executing it. Right, now let's talk about the popularity of it. How many people hold it, have it in wallets, ETFs, staked, that sort of thing. So let's get into that. First off, the ETF. Last I looked, it was total market cap. It says Ethereum ETF tracker. There's various sites that do this, over $6 billion. The ETF is a huge deal. You've got the Bitcoin ETF, you've got the Ethereum ETF. That opens up a whole world of institutional investors and retail investors that wouldn't otherwise get a wallet and buy it themselves. We all know the pluses and minuses of having it in a ETF as opposed to just holding it in your own wallet. And people say, well, Bitcoin really took off. Ethereum got great investments, not as much as they thought. Well, you can't, Ethereum, you can obtain a yield, and you're not obtaining a yield within one of these ETFs. That might be a big reason. I don't know. But when it comes to crypto, there's two large ETFs, the Bitcoin ones and the Ethereum ones. That's huge for Ethereum. Secondly, I've got here that by the end of the second quarter of 2024, that's the end of June, there were over 30 million Ethereum staked, representing over 24% of the total circulating supply. That is an incredible amount staked, which basically means it's taken out of circulation. Now, also, as of one of the reports I looked, I tried to get an average yield. And it said as of 2023, what I could find was that the average yield across staking platforms is somewhere between 4 and 5%. That seemed a little high to me. I'm happy with even a 2 to 3%, but a 4 to 5% on Ethereum, to me, that makes it yet another valuable reason to hold it. Also, when I talked about DeBanking, from what I've seen, because I do have some Ethereum staked and I have taken a loan against the Ethereum, took it in stable coins. I've got videos about DeBanking and how to use it, but from what I've seen, it's one of the highest loan to value ratios, typically 80%, meaning you stake $20,000, you can take 80%, $16,000. I don't recommend that because you can be called if the price starts to fall. So you have to be very careful. But if you look at all the other crypto that you can get a loan against, usually their loan to values are lower than 80%, which tells me that Ethereum is considered much more valuable. All right. So when it comes to popularity and stakes, we've got ETFs around 6 billion, around 25% is staked, taken out of supply. Let's see, you get a yield of around 4 and 5%, and it seems to be one of the better forms of collateral, along with probably Bitcoin. Okay, now let's look at wallet holdings. I thought this was interesting. So if we scroll down to the bottom here for the Ethereum on CoinMarketCap, take a look at these three things, mainly addresses by holdings and time held. Addresses by holding, this is interesting. They've got a graph here and you can see as of 10/28/24. But essentially, those holding $0 to $1,000 worth of Ethereum is 98.9%. It's a lot. And it represents 252 million people. 1% essentially between 1 and 100,000, and then 0.04% over 100,000. So if you have over $1,000 of Ethereum, that's only 1% of the people. Fascinating. There's so many people that develop on it and that thing, and the need for wallets to have basic amount of fees. I mean, when I think about it, I have many wallets, and I'm guessing the one crypto that I have in every single wallet is probably Ethereum. It's probably the only crypto that I have in every single wallet because I use it to pay fees for things. Okay, so that's substantial. Then what I really like, there's the whale holdings, which is interesting, but addresses by time held. So cruisers, traders, and holders. Okay, what does this mean? Well, they say traders are addresses that have been holding for less than a month. Holders have been holding for longer than a year. Traders, almost 10%, less than a month. Buying, selling, essentially, or buying for this bull run. Holders, more than a year. Almost 50% of the people have held this for more than a year. I think that's substantial, and I think that's a big deal. And if you look here, holders is 106 million have had it for more than a year. Cruisers 107, traders 21. Okay, so essentially we're looking at 252 million people with $0 to $1,000, $1,000 to $100,000, 2.5 million, and almost 100,000 have over $100,000. But the number for me is 252 million. That's incredible. And then 50% of them holding for greater than a year. That is substantial. All right, now let's look at money. So if we take a look here at Ethereum on DeFi Llama, it has the most in terms of total value locked. It's showing 48 billion. Again, this is October 31st of 2024. Next closest total value locked, 7 billion, and then it just goes down from there. So they are by far the largest in terms of total value locked. 83 billion stable coins. If you look at some of the top protocols, Lido or Lido, however you pronounce it, 25 billion. Aave, which I use, 11 billion. It's impressive, and it's by far the largest. All right, now let's look at, if we just look down here, fees. 24-hour fees here, 5 million. Revenue in 24 hours, 3.5 million. It's impressive. The numbers are staggering compared to all of the others. And if you look back here, 2022, it was over 102 billion locked. And now it's starting to ramp up. This was earlier when the price took off, and it'll probably shoot up again. So in terms of total value locked and the fact that they're making money, to me, that is critical. Now let's just look at price changes over time. Here we are on the CryptoRank site. They've got monthly returns by year and month, but if you go down here, here it is, Ethereum annual price change. So year to year price change here, 2015, 2016, 17, early on, of course, it climbed. You can see how it up, down, up, down, up, down. It was actually 48.60 in 2021, and the percentages that it increases. So here we go. In summary, why do I like it? Well, Bitcoin and Ethereum are two of my holds for a very long time. I'm going to use them to DeBank. I'm going to hold them as collateral, and I believe that they will always increase. For the reasons I mentioned, with Ethereum being first mover advantage, the fact with the ERC20, so many tokens are reliant upon it, first mover because of the smart contract pioneer, everything it's doing to keep up to date, the fact that it's so much larger than everyone else in market cap and total value locked, and it's generating money, that makes it one of my two long-term holds, particularly for, like I said, for DeBanking and whatnot. But also what's interesting to me is I may try to time the market on Ethereum, and potentially next year, if it really runs up, sell some and maybe buy some back at a lower price. But regardless, I'm holding it for the long term for those reasons, and Ethereum in particular because it has a yield, and it has a good yield. Look, I'm not one of those billionaires that's holding $1 billion worth of crypto, or 500 million or 100 million of, I should say, Bitcoin, not crypto. To them, they're not looking for yield. They're perfectly happy with what they're going to just gain in capital. But for me, I love the fact that I can have a yield. I can use it for collateral. I can hold it for the long term. And personally, I'm not an ETF person. I want to hold these myself. I want to have them in my own self-custody wallets so that I can put them up as collateral, or some of it if needed, take it back, stake it, take it back, whatever I want to do. So now let's look at the price. Trading view here. This is a daily chart. Disregard my little line there. So this is back in 2018. Here we've got 2022 as high as 4,800. This last run this summer went to 4,000. Now it looks like it's in a nice sideways consolidation pattern on the daily. And just today on the 31st, it had a fairly significant drop, especially if we look at the hourly. Yeah, it went from 2640 to 2540. Anyway, I personally think that 2,500 is an excellent jumping point to jump in, that is. Especially if you're going to hold it for the reasons I'm holding it for. And if we look at the 200 and the 100 day, which is a pretty decent cross, crossing for a purchase and crossing for a selling signals. See, they crossed again in the down market, and they crossed again for that most recent up market. They have not yet crossed, but they're pretty close. We've got higher lows, as they say, and it looks like these may cross soon. And if we do, by the end of this year, go into a bull market, who knows where this is going to go? Maybe you'll have some nice appreciation. But if you're like me, and even in a bull market, you want to sort of diversify your risk in your holdings, sure, it may not 10x, it may not even 5x. It may just 2, 3, or 4. But for me, that's plenty. And I hold that for the long and to diversify against some of the risk of the other crypto. Hope this was helpful. Have a great day. And as always, I hope you're able to make generational wealth with crypto, and we all win on this bull market.